and welcome to the Actual Tech Media MegaCast. My name is Jess, and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information to cover with you. Let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Also, keep in mind that if you have any tech issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all of your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. And if we do not get to your question during the webinar, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us today will be following up with you after we wrap. All right, next up on our tour, there are going to be lots of cool aha moments in the MegaCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast will automatically get added to your post. And our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the Handouts tab for some resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. And if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes we will be giving away throughout the MegaCast today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. You do need to be in attendance here live at the webinar in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all winners after we wrap the MegaCast today. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, hey, if you're not sure what those are, no problem. You can find the full T's and C's in that Handouts tab. Again, just click into the Handouts section, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember here today is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. In today's MegaCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about winning, and we will get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the MegaCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So let's connect on social. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content right away after we wrap, you want to jump right in, make sure that you subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and to grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in that Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected after we wrap today. Now, both you and your coworker, your friend, could win a prize, and we actually hold those drawings every month. So be sure you refer somebody awesome before you head out today. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your Handouts tab and fill out the application. Then the Actual Tech crew will match you with some vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you can choose to join in, like surveys or test running new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you will learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker in your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, how to prevent and recover. The site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. So go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and they are completely free, super easy. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get rolling. All right, folks. Well, as I said, it's time to jump into the good stuff, because today we are talking about Supercloud, the cloud of clouds, including on-prem and the edge. So today we're going to get super. We're going to be supercharged. We're going to be super pumped, and we are going to go super deep into the Supercloud. Okay, I promise not to do that the whole time. All right, well, just to say at the start here, I would imagine today that we have a few different groups out there in the audience with us. Now, my guess is that some of you know exactly what the Supercloud is. You're fully on board. You're already utilizing it in your organization. And then I'm guessing on the opposite end of the spectrum there are folks out there who know what it is, but are very skeptical. You know, why do we need a new word for this? What even is it? What's the value? What's different? You might be asking yourself all of those questions. And then there's that group in the middle, maybe a little fuzzy on the details. And that makes sense, because this is a relatively new idea, and even the experts seem to disagree a little bit on what it all means and why it's here. I mean, if you Google Supercloud right now, every single response is a slightly different definition, a slightly different variation on how to think about it, define it, and utilize the Supercloud. So our superhero, the Supercloud, is still a little bit fuzzy around the edges, right? Here's what we know. We know that it enhances cloud infrastructure by providing a single cloud interface. We know it's scalable. We know it's agile and allows for application migration. We know that it is a value add or abstraction layer that hides complexity and increases efficiency. Those are all great things. But what does that actually mean? How are you going to apply that in your organization? So today we're going to get practical. We're going to talk about how we can use this particular superhero to our advantage. We're going to dig in with some top experts here with us today from Rubrik, Cloudian, and Quantum to talk to us about what the Supercloud is and how it can benefit you. We're going to give you some concrete ideas of how to make the Supercloud a reality at your organization. So I am very excited to be here with all of you today and be a part of this super cool, super informative Supercloud conversation. I cannot wait to dive in, but I have just a few things to cover before we get started here. So once again, my name is Jess Steinbach. I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. Now, my fellow moderators, Scott Becker and Keith Ward, will be here with us on live chat today. And let's talk about prizes. Today on the MegaCast, I sounded like, do you guys ever watch Emperor's New Groove? You know, what's the guy's name? Kronk. And he says, have you seen the sky today? Talk about blue. Have you seen the prizes today? Talk about cool. All right, so 1 of 3 Apple Watch Series 9 watches, and we're going to be giving away a $300 Amazon gift card every 30 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Lots of cool prizes coming your way. If you have questions about the terms and conditions, you can check the handouts tab. Keep in mind that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast in order to win. Okay, my friends, let's get into our keynote, because as you can see, it is going to be a good one. We wanted to take a little time with this keynote to kind of do a level set, Supercloud 101. And of course, we had to have a super special speaker to meet this super task. So we will be talking today with the one and only Bill Clayman, board member, technology advisor at Neuro. Bill, it is always such a pleasure to have you here with us on the MegaCast. I know that you've got some really cool insights for all of us and some cool stuff to get into. So I'm going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away, Bill.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very important conversation, Supercloud, the cloud of clouds, including on-prem and at the edge. Hey, listen, we're going to have a really fun conversation. My name is Bill Clayman. I am going to be your keynote presenter for the day. I am the board member and lead technologies at Neuro. And hey, guess what? We work with a lot of cloud technologies as well as data center solutions. I am the AFCOM Data Center World Program Chair, and I'm also a contributing editor to Data Center Knowledge, Data Center Frontier, as well as other places like Information Week. And you know what? let's just dive into this one. Okay. I could not resist with this next slide. Ready? It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Supercloud. Listen, if it's going to be in the title of this actual tech conversation, I could not resist doing this. But joking aside, I know that some of you folks might still be, how shall I say it, recovering cloudaholics from all this new nomenclature like the edge and multi-cloud. And now, oh my God, this energetic chipmunk is about to introduce oh my gosh, the Supercloud. I understand it's new. I understand it's a new word, but let's go ahead and put that in the back of our minds, that it's new marketing terminology, and kind of focus on the technical aspect and why it is important. As I look into this industry over the past, I would really say maybe a year or so, obviously the pandemic was an accelerator for this, but Supercloud in itself is becoming kind of a big deal, and not just because it combines these big clouds across the world. Organizations, really small, medium, and large enterprises, are investing into major cloud solutions, but they're facing some very serious growing challenges. We'll talk about those, what they look like in just a second. But many IT departments supporting critical applications in different kind of environments, different clouds, even as they spread their own infrastructure from the core to the edge, are finding it challenging to move around some of the most critical resources. So at the very highest level, and just follow me on this, we're going to repeat this in just a little bit as well. A supercloud is not one necessarily piece of technology. It's more like an architecture, a concept, right? Or even a construct that allows applications it allows application migration as a service across different availability zones, different cloud services, and even to different cloud providers. So we're going to spend some time discussing where we are with cloud, where we're going, and really kind of how to make the right choice, if there is even such a thing, in working with cloud solutions. So let's start off with a little bit of a deep breath here, a refresher. Let's take a look at cloud by the numbers. And please understand, you're going to get a chance to see a bit of us straddling both the physical infrastructure side of things as well as what's happening in the cloud. So follow me on this for a second. This is absolutely fascinating. So Synergy Research Group, by the way, I really do like them. They release really interesting stuff around cloud computing and so on. They're saying that now we've got around 900 hyperscale data centers. These are the folks that are supporting the major cloud applications out there. And about 3 times as many there were about 5 to 6 years ago. Now, despite crazy logistical issues and everything else, 52 of these hyperscale facilities supporting cloud came online during the pandemic in 2020. Now, this goes without saying. Everybody listening to me, the cloud computing landscape is as dynamic as the weather. No pun intended. Sometimes it's cloudy out there. And as the pace of innovation in the cloud and availability of these new tools and services continue to explode, this was interesting. From Gartner forecast that the worldwide cloud end user spending is going to reach, oh my gosh, nearly 600 billion with a B by the end of this year. And it's a dizzying and an exciting and promising space for us to be in. Now we know the metrics, and I've tried to point this out into the day, but let's take a look at where it's necessarily going. Now, this next part is really important because the conversations that we're going to have today, well, they're going to revolve around the tool sets that you can use to move around critical applications, tools, data sets, and everything else to create your very own supercloud. And we're going to talk about what that means in just a second here, in just a few minutes that we've got here. But let's take a look at where this is heading now. It's important to know, now, as you're listening to this, whether you're a provider, a cloud service provider, a data center person, the market is largely being driven by the end users, the people in the actual market. So about 5 years ago, only 5 years ago, about 60% of data center capacity was on-prem facilities. Now, looking at 5 years ahead, hyperscale operators are going to account for over half of all capacity, while on-premise will drop to under 30%. Whoa. They got to move somewhere, don't they? And they're basically moving to different kinds of cloud services. Now, I'm not talking about complete migrations into AWS, CC2, or Azure, or GCP, bits and pieces, but also leveraging cloud services. Now, you can see these trends. Take a look at this chart with me. You're seeing that on-premise capacity is decreasing because our relationship with cloud is also evolving. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, there are some really key trends. This is a little graph that I wanted to put together as far as what I'm seeing out there. Hybrid, multi-cloud, people are still trying to understand where and how to best deploy their infrastructure, and the Supercloud is a part of what helps with that. Obviously, disaster recovery and business continuity, really, really key considerations. Edge computing, that's not going anywhere. I've got a cool slide of that in just a second. Automation is a big one, intelligent automation, even so. IoT, the world of connected devices, which was a perfect storm actually for the amount of IoT devices that came online during the pandemic. And last but not least, the 800-pound GPT generating gorilla in the room, which is ChatGPT. We're not going to talk about that right now. We just don't have the time. But definitely AI as a platform are things that we're trying to consider. How do we support this? Where do we ultimately deploy this? How are our end users using these technologies? And how do we ultimately connect all of this together? Now, there's one more really important thing that I need everyone to follow me on before we get into the meat of this conversation, is that our relationship with cloud has changed. We know what necessarily needs to be in the cloud and what does not. We now begin deployments with repatriation in mind. My goodness, just because it was born in the cloud doesn't mean it necessarily always has to live there. So we have to understand this relationship between what we see in the cloud environment and what we're doing with our data centers specifically. So let's take a look at this for just a second. Now, the Supercloud is a construct. Please remember that must fit your business. Don't just go out there and think one model or solution fits everything. It really is something that you need to adapt to your applications and data sets. Remember, AI, GPUs, generative AI, all these new conversations that we're having around new types of AI workloads, they must be a part of your conversation, and certainly considerations as far as how you design your cloud architecture. Please don't think into legacy workloads, legacy architectures. Definitely think to the future, including things like AI. Please rethink your architecture as well. Just because it works, I'm using air quotes just in case you're not seeing me, it doesn't mean it's bringing value to your organization. So being able to reconstruct and re-architect your solution is a major part of innovation in our industry. Never be complacent, because complacency is like a death sentence. Don't do it. The network is a critical part of your consideration. Obviously, you need to connect resources together. That's a part of what the Supercloud actually does. Not just applications, but key services and data sets, and various tools like IoT, even components, are all becoming interconnected, where we can use this really powerful architecture to span between many kinds of environments. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Bill, isn't this just like multi-cloud or hybrid cloud? Well, we're starting to focus into very specific applications, workloads, and data sets that we need to move around between very heterogeneous environment. Now, again, I said this earlier, just because it's living in the cloud doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be there forever, which means we have to think bigger picture and really try to understand, well, what does our cloud look like? What does your super cloud look like? Listen, I'm glad that this keynote is only like 8 to 10 minutes long. It's not very long, because I'm not going to go into every single one of these cloud architectures, public, hybrid, private. Each one of them are going to have their pros, and each one of them are going to have their cons. I'm lucky enough, and so all of you, that we live right now in an industry where at least we have a better understanding of what needs to live where, and certainly how. So whether you're leveraging public, hybrid, or private clouds, understand that there's going to be pros and cons between all of these, right? Whether it's security, flexibility, whether it's maybe an expense or a cost, or even just having to maintain and manage your own environment, a super cloud does facilitate an easier method of working with really key and critical applications. And of course, we've got the edge as well. That's not going anywhere. And I am sorry if I triggered anybody today, because we're throwing every single cloud computing term out there, and we're even introducing a new one with Supercloud. But this is what it kind of looks like, right? Where we have all of these new kinds of components, where it's hybrid edge, where we have the processing that happens in the cloud itself versus what's happening in the edge with real-time AI control, for example, secure on-premise processing, data collection and aggregation. So the big question is this, right? And this is where we're going to start to wrap this up. And I really want everyone to have a little bit of a gold nugget as you listen to the rest of the conversations today during this little event and conference that we've got. Please think of it this way. Vision without execution is just hallucination. So you're going to be hearing about the Supercloud. You're going to be hearing about how you can manage and move these applications together, and ultimately take a nugget and see how it can apply to your business. Remember, A supercloud, as I mentioned earlier, is an architecture that enables application migration into service across differently available zones, availability zones, or cloud providers. Now, this is the important part I want everyone to understand as I wrap this up. Spanning across major clouds like EC2 from Amazon, GCP from Google, or even the Google Compute Engine, Microsoft Azure, as well as private clouds, the supercloud architecture provides interfaces to allocate, migrate, and terminate resources such as virtual machines and the storage. And it presents a homogenous network to tie all of these non-homogeneous resources together. So as you take a look at all of these solutions and as you listen to the conversations today, remember that superclouds, they offer flexibility for your business. And remember, make sure it's contextual to your business. Users can allocate their virtual machines across several data centers around the world, irrespective of the owner and without reconfiguring and synchronizing those applications. Now, these supercloud architectures and models really enable an application to offload from an overloaded data center, for example, to another one that has a completely different infrastructure altogether, but it does have capacity. So a lot to think about here, right? A lot of really cool, really interesting concepts. And the supercloud, again, makes it fundamentally easier to move into a more homogeneous connected ecosystem for your most critical resources. Keep this conversation going. Make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. I guess I should update my Twitter logo because it's now Giant X. Facebook, or you can follow me on my website, billclayman.com. LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. But hey, stay tuned. We are going to have a lot more really, really important conversations around the supercloud and how it can impact your business. So stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the conversations. Back to you.
Oh man, Bill, thank you so much. I always love getting to start a day out with you. We get so much energy and so much information all crammed in to a conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through that. All right. Well, I know that Bill just got all of us pumped up and ready to talk about Supercloud. But before we jump into our content, we just have a quick question for all of you. And what we're wondering is a little bit about the time frame. So are you here today purely for information gathering? You have no time frames in mind? No problem. Are you looking to make changes a little bit shorter term, maybe a little bit longer term? Let us know. And again, this is just information that we gather to pass on to the speakers so that they know, are they hitting you with something that you need in the current, in the now, immediately, or are you thinking a little more strategically, a little bit more? Maybe you're already out in 2024, maybe you're out in 2025, wherever your brain's at, we want to know. And I'll tell you, I'm seeing a lot of the not sures. We're about half of the audience out there is in the half sure category, or not sure, the half sure. Half of you are half sure why you're here today. You're not sure about your timelines, and that's awesome because that means that you're in that research phase. You're really kind of figuring things out. You have some ideas, but maybe you're not locked into a specific time frame, and I love that. And what that means is we're going to get you lots of information that hits you right there, and it's gonna fit whether you need to make a change tomorrow or you need to make a change in that 2025 hat. So let's get into our very first presentation of the day, and I am very excited to kick off this Supercloud MegaCast Supercast today. And to kick things off, we are going to jump in with some data protection and security in the cloud. And that obviously is a really important place to start because Supercloud is this abstraction layer, right? That's going to make it easier for migration and reducing complexity, but it's really important that we don't lose sight of security. So today we're going to start out chatting with the Rubrik crew. We've got Brian Evans here with us, product management at Rubrik. Brian, thank you so much for being here with us today to kick off our Supercast. Now the awesome Scott Becker is waiting in the wings to get into some audience questions with you at the end. So we've got lots coming up. So with that, I'm going to step back and hand things right on over to you. Take it away, Brian.
Hi, everyone. Once again, my name is Brian Evans. I'm on the product management team here at Rubrik, and I'm going to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes chatting with you about obviously cloud topics, but from the Rubrik perspective, what we are most interested in is data protection and data security. Which from our perspective go hand in hand. So I'm going to talk a little bit on a couple of different vectors. One is going to be about our relationship, our partnership with Microsoft and how that informs some of the things that we do. Then I'm going to walk you through how we view cloud. Obviously, moving into the cloud, which a lot of us are doing, comes with a lot of challenges and concerns. I want to outline a few of those, and in particular, how Rubrik thinks about those challenges and how we have really evolved our data protection and data security platform to make cloud a first-class citizen. And then I'll walk you through some specifics around Microsoft 365. And in particular, obviously, a lot of companies use Microsoft 365 as one of their sort of cloud resources in the SaaS perspective. I'll walk you through sort of data protection, and in particular, a ransomware attack with Microsoft 365 as the main focus, because I think it gives a great, it's a great example of how Rubrik thinks about both protecting cloud workloads or SaaS workloads, and how through the use of Rubrik, you can really mitigate the impacts of malware attacks or ransomware attacks. So let's get started. So first and foremost, just want to spend a few minutes talking about our relationship with Microsoft, because it is significant on a number of fronts. It's been almost 2 years ago now where Microsoft recognized that Rubrik was driving lots and lots and lots of storage traffic to their platform. One of the main sort of key values that we brought to market when we first started selling 5-6 years ago was the ability to very easily archive snapshots into places like Azure, into Cloud Archive. And what Microsoft saw was that we were driving significant traffic, so much so that they reached out to us, we reached out to them, and we started talking about a possible partnership that focused both on the use of that storage, but more importantly, it really focused on our strategy at that point to really start talking about and implementing security. Like, data protection is still core of everything we do, but they were especially intrigued by how we were thinking about security at the point of data. So they announced, we announced together a partnership which included a fairly significant investment by Microsoft into Rubrik. But that wasn't the end of the story. I think a lot of times what you see is these partnerships, there's a big PR flurry, not much happens after that, at least nothing tangible. But in our case, there have been some significant changes in how we approach engineering and development, and how we approach sort of our go-to-market with our joint customers. We are very, very deeply integrated with the relevant Microsoft development groups and engineering groups, and that includes certainly on the engineering side for things like Azure, things like security, things like the storage teams. We meet with them on a very regular basis, and that really has benefited our 2,500 plus joint customers, very closely interlocked, and that certainly continues going forward. And what you're going to see is that really a lot of that focus is on zero trust data security. For anybody who's familiar with sort of Azure's zero trust model, Rubrik integrates into that very, very nicely in the way we approach data protection as a point of data security. And so we're very deeply integrated with all their tools, SIEM, SOAR, Microsoft Defender, and you're going to see even more offerings that are very tightly integrated along those fronts as we go forward. Now, we don't just work with Azure. Obviously, we deal with all the major clouds and all the major cloud vendors, and we're doing lots of sort of SaaS data protection and security as well. But I think looking at how we interact with Microsoft and Azure and M365 for that matter is a great way to see sort of how Rubrik views the cloud, both as an opportunity and a challenge, and how we're working to address those challenges. So that's the Microsoft piece. Strong partnership. It's going to continue, and there's some great things coming out. So stepping back for a second, what about just cloud in general? I know a lot of the reason you're here and listening is because you're sort of well into that journey into the cloud, and we've seen that certainly across the board. And if we look at it from Rubrik's perspective, which is really data protection first, and then data security sort of layered on top of that as part of data protection, really what it means is some significant challenges. Like even on-prem, where Rubrik, we got our start protecting on-premises enterprise applications, certainly with some easy archival into cloud, but most of the workloads were running on-prem. Even in that case, it can be very difficult to keep track of how your data protection sort of strategy is working, especially at scale, and certainly data security and your ability to recover from things like cyber attacks is difficult even on-prem. But as you start to move into the cloud and start to take advantage of either infrastructure as a service or platform services or SaaS, which we're all doing more increasingly over time, you start to see that the problem gets exponentially worse. How do you keep track of what's being protected? How do you keep track of the various attack vectors that bad actors have into your data and the workloads running? Because they're running everywhere, right? It's a problem that's very difficult to get a handle on. Certainly the native tools across all these different platforms and locations are all different and they all behave differently. And if you're aggressively using cloud resources, which we often are, it really becomes hard to know if your data is safe and secure from attack, right? That's really the existential problem with moving to the cloud that I'm sure many of you have seen. And so just sort of walking through it maybe in a little more detail, let's take the multi-cloud case. I think anybody who's doing this in any significant way, you're finding there's reasons to use AWS, there's reasons to use Azure, maybe even reasons to use Google, right? So you have 3 new platforms right out of the gate that you have to figure out how to protect your data, how to secure your data, how to understand what sort of data is being stored in these locations. So you immediately have a 4x problem as compared to what's going on in the enterprise. And so in order to get there, if you're just using native tools, which a lot of us do out of the gate because they're easily accessible, you potentially have 3 new sets of tools you need to figure out and understand to be able to keep track of your data. But oh, by the way, you're going to have potentially those tools running across many different accounts across those different clouds, many different regions across those different clouds. And so, very quickly, as you start to take advantage of the sort of infinite availability of resources, quote unquote, keeping track of what's in use and protecting your data as you move into all those various vectors of usage really becomes a significant issue. And keep in mind, this is still in addition to everything that you're running on-prem. So data protection and explicitly data security, the security of that data that's being protected and your ability to use those backups to actually recover from normal day-to-day backup recovery use cases, but also ransomware and malware, your ability to use all of that data becomes very, very difficult. And that's where Rubrik comes in, because when we think about how to deal with these significant problems, we do have answers. And so just a quick recap of what those problems are. Like, what's difficult about this? Number one, there's a significant increased risk of cyber attacks, right? As your surface area where your data lives, where your backups live, where your workloads live, and backups of those workloads, you obviously have many, many more attack vectors for bad actors to go after. Your data is fragmented. You potentially have a significant lack of control and understanding of even what's available in the various parts of your organization. Understanding what sensitive data is being protected and how it's accessible becomes extremely difficult. And of course, it's very difficult to keep track of all those tools. Going back to that, that diagram I just showed, using the native tools is a good idea, at least in theory, but understanding and managing all those tools across all those various environments is very, very difficult. And even understanding who's responsible for keeping backups and doing scanning for malware and things of that nature becomes very difficult in a world where, shadow IT, quote unquote, is off spinning up workloads and spinning up data repositories very, very easily. So these are problems that are significant, and they can lead to increased risk, right? That's the big issue here. And so enter Rubrik. Like, we approach these problems from a very different perspective. Where we got our start on-prem, if you look back at our 6 years ago or so, we really came out with an extremely innovative, new, fresh way of looking at data protection on-prem. The ability to use machine learning to do very simplified data protection across all types of workloads running in the enterprise. An SLA-based model where you basically, it's a declaratory system where you say, I need this level of protection for these types of workloads, and then Rubrik takes care of everything else. And by the way, we're also able, because of some unique architectural attributes of our system, we're able to absolutely 100% secure your data and protect it from ransomware. So we have a system that makes data protection easy, makes data security built in. And we've basically taken that model that works very, very well on-prem and extended it into the cloud. Cloud becomes an equivalent first-class citizen in our system, and we provide data protection and data security at the point of data, both in the enterprise and in the cloud. And so that's a unique approach. Certainly, there's lots and lots of real-time security systems. Those absolutely need to be in place. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes about how ransomware works. But ultimately, what you also need for any secure, protected environment is the ability to recover, the ability to manage both protection and recovery as you move into these different environments. So we provide resiliency, both from attacks, but also just from day-to-day backup recovery needs at the point of data that extends to the cloud, where we support this notion of policy-driven intelligence, something we refer to internally as SLAs. You basically apply your business needs, you codify them in these SLAs, you apply them to workloads, and those workloads could be running anywhere. They could be running in the cloud, they could be SaaS-based, they could be running on-prem. You can even share those same business policies across the various different clouds. So it's super easy to get a baseline and organized and keep track of what's being protected across all these different environments. And that's the key here, right? This is a unified plane of control that applies across all the workloads in your environment, regardless of where they live. Cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, on-prem, SaaS, all covered with the same administrative management interface, all using exactly the same tools, and all basically tasked with protecting your data and making sure it's secure and always usable for recovery from malware attacks and other bad actors. So that's how we think of cloud, and it's cloud is just an extension of your data center, and that's the way you should think of it from a protection and security point of view. So we've basically extended our on-prem model over the years. Certainly, we can protect VMs running in the cloud. We can protect services like databases running in the cloud. We can protect SaaS applications, M365 being a big, very popular one, which I'll talk about a lot more in a minute. And it's all built around this policy-driven automation system that works across all these environments. And it, of course, comes along with some amazing security tools and recovery tools. We have the ability to scan for ransomware in all of the data under Rubrik protection. We have the ability to scan for sensitive data. A super important part of recovering from something like a ransomware attack is to understand what data has been impacted. If the bad actors are exfiltrating while they are also encrypting, which is often the way these things work, you need to know what's being impacted. You need to know how serious the breach has been. We have lots of tools and capabilities in that area, and they apply across all the different types of workloads, regardless of where they live. and we can also help you recover. We know when malware has been introduced into your system, into the data under protection, we can help you find a safe point in time to recover so you don't just reintroduce malware into your system all over again. So we have broad protection in the cloud as well as on-prem. I've mentioned Microsoft 365. We have a very growing customer base here that's protecting Microsoft 365 with our tools. We're able to recover from things like accidental deletion, which maybe is sort of the day-to-day nuts and bolts of what tends to happen. But we're also able to help significantly with things like malware attacks, where bad actors go into your Microsoft 365 system as well. So let's look at that. So as I mentioned at the top, I wanted to talk a little bit about ransomware protection. This is certainly something in the data security space where Rubrik has really evolved to be almost a data security first company. It's all built on our data protection capabilities, but really it's about securing your data and making sure it's usable for recovery when you need it, right? Which is the most important part of any backup strategy. So let's look at a ransomware attack focused very specifically on Microsoft 365. So first and foremost, the first thing that always happens is perimeter defenses are breached. I think that's one thing that's increasingly clear to anybody who's watching these sort of ransomware attacks and how they evolve and how they unfold. You have to assume that the bad actor is inside your system. We at Rubrik, we absolutely believe that these perimeter defenses are critically important. They need to be kept up to date. They need to be used in all cases. But we've also seen that inevitably those systems will fail, whether it's through human error or technology error or what have you. Eventually, these very persistent attackers will get in your system. And once that happens, you basically have to assume they have administrative access to many of your systems. So if they have administrative access to Microsoft 365, they have the global administrator. The first thing they're going to do once they get in, and again, this is very specific to a SaaS application like Microsoft 365, they're going to exfiltrate all your data and they're going to delete that data, and you will then get a message saying, there's a ransom note. We can give you your data back, but here's what we've done. And so, of course, immediately you need to figure out what to do. And in the absence of tools like Rubrik, there's a couple of things you're going to think about. First is, can I restore from my backups, right? I have a retention policy. I should be able to do that. But of course, because the bad actor had administrative access, data will automatically have been deleted. They will change your retention policies so it's no longer available. So that's not going to work. Other options are possible, like maybe you have some of the data at least under a legal hold, things of this nature, but ultimately that's not going to work at scale, obviously. And so you're going to end up in a situation where you have to pay the ransom, at least in the absence of other tools that help you sort of mitigate the situation in this case. And oh, by the way, the M365 part of this, the SaaS part of it, is only one part of the equation. Almost certainly, when your defenses were breached, they were attacking your other systems on-prem as well. I'm not going to go into the details there, but a similar scenario is going to play out on-prem, with encryption in this case being the main issue, and deletion of backups, et cetera, et cetera. So how does Rubrik change the game? In our case, looking at our M365 protection, we have a fully secure, hosted, account-isolated place where all of your backups are stored. So this bad actor, even though they have administrative access internally to your systems, they can't get to ours. So now we have this sort of air-gapped, account-isolated version. We can easily recover that data for you. We have rapid recovery tools built in. Again, all unified into the same system that, oh, by the way, can also help you recover from the other points of entry that this ransomware attack has almost certainly taken in the rest of your systems. So again, thinking about how to recover from these attacks, is your data secure? Is your data protected? The use of a single point of management like Rubrik really becomes critically important. because you're able to use our tools, you're able to get access to the data that otherwise would not be available in your system. So that's really the sum of what I wanted to talk about. When we think about the cloud, obviously it comes with huge opportunities for this infinite availability of resources and easy accessibility, but it does come with significant challenges as you start to look at it through the lens of both traditional data protection, backup and recovery, but even more so when you look at it through the lens of data security. Like, where does your data live? Where is it available? What are the attack vectors on your data? And how do you make sure that you protect yourself from those attack vectors and ensure that you can use data, your protected data for recoveries, both in the cloud and on-prem? And we do think you should take a look at Rubrik because we have a lot to offer here. And again, some unique architectural attributes that really give us an advantage as you think about how data security and protection should work. And that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Oh, all right, great.
Any questions?
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Great presentation. And I also want to say thanks for starting out with that full story about how the Microsoft partnership developed and how it's evolved. I hadn't heard a lot of that context before, and it really explains a lot about the value that you guys provide there. So yeah, really nice presentation all the way through. Brian, the first question we have here, can protection and security policies be applied to workloads running in different clouds?
Yeah. I think I touched on this a little bit, but yes, absolutely. So we have these, business policies, if you will. You can think of them as this sort of gold, silver, bronze. How often do I need to take backups? Where do I want those backups to be archived or replicated? What's my retention policy for those backups? And many times, what we do see is that workloads running both on-prem and in the cloud have very similar requirements. And so you can define those policies and apply them to workloads regardless of where they are running. Yes. So it can be, if situations are appropriate, it can be a super simple system, and you can apply those same policies across all workloads regardless of where they live. Now, obviously, in many cases, that might not be appropriate. You might have all your top priority workloads running on-prem with very specific SLAs, and of course, we can handle that situation as well. So super flexible, yes.
Okay, all right, super. And this next question, I'm actually going to ask for a little bit of clarification. Maybe from you, maybe you'll know this abbreviation, but it's, can my Rubrik data count against my Mac, MACC? I'm not quite sure what the Mac is, but.
Yes. So that actually goes back to the Microsoft part of the conversation with our partnership. So many customers, especially large customers, they basically have quotas of storage and resources that they have to use with Microsoft. That's with Azure, essentially. That's part of their agreement and what they commit to when they get these sort of high-level agreements with Microsoft. And if you're using Rubrik, one attribute of this partnership that we have is that if you're protecting data and resources running in either on-prem or in Azure, and you are archiving them or replicating them into Azure storage, your use of that storage actually counts against your Mac. Which means it really helps in making sure you meet your commitments to Microsoft that are part of that partnership. So, short answer is yes, it can be used.
So, Brian, it looks like we're running out of time here, but just if you wanted to leave people with a takeaway or a great next step for finding out about Rubrik or getting started, what do you recommend?
So there's a couple of things. I think our website's pretty great and updated all the time. And so if you really want to get a sense of how our strategy sort of is laid out, maybe not so focused on M365, but even more broadly, I would recommend the website. It's very well organized, lots of great resources there. That's one element. The other is our user conference is coming up here in a few weeks. It's called Rubrik Forward. There's absolutely virtual way to attend. We have things like hands-on labs, lots of content that's spans all sorts of different use cases, different types of workloads, certainly with a major focus on our messaging and strategy around data security. So that's a great option too. You can just register and take a look at any number of very specific types of information that are appropriate for what you're looking for.
All right, excellent. Well, Brian Evans, thanks for the update on Rubrik, and just great presentation. Really appreciate it, and all the insights and Q&A.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you to Brian. Thank you to Scott. What a great conversation. Scott, I appreciate you jumping in to do some Q&A on there. We got a lot of really great questions coming in from all of you. And I do want to remind you all, now I know a lot of you know this by now, you're regulars on the MegaCast, but we do have to move pretty quickly in those live Q&A sessions. And so throughout the day today, if we're not getting to your questions, please keep those coming in, because the teams have folks here on live chat, and we're trying to get back to as many questions as we can on live chat. Anything we don't get to in a live Q&A or a live chat, we will be sure to follow up with you over email. We make sure the teams get those questions in follow-up, so you will get answers back. So keep those questions coming in. Now, another great way to make sure that you're getting the info that you need is actually to click on the poll that you see up on your screen. Now, we call it a poll, but I've been changing this up a little bit lately. I'm going to switch it over to wish list. Basically, what you're doing is telling Rubrik what is the information that would be helpful for you, what would be a great next step for you in terms of research. So click on that wish list and let Rubrik send you exactly and only what you need. While you're doing that and you're clicking around on your screen, I will also remind you to visit your handouts tab. Now, Brian was just saying at the end how valuable that website is, and that I have to echo that. The Rubrik website is just chock-a-block full of resources and lots of great things to dig into in terms of extra reading or demos, connecting with their team, Q&A. So make sure that you spend some time on the Rubrik site. Click on that handouts tab, click on the Rubrik link, and head on over and start checking out the website. Okay, all of that down, we are going to move into some prizes, and I am going to give away both an Apple Watch Series 9 and a $300 Amazon gift card. Now, I do want to remind you again that you do need to be here live and present in order to win. All right, so our very first super winners on this Supercast, a $300 Amazon gift card going to Scott Bell of Missouri. Scott Bell of Missouri, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And our very first Apple Watch 9 going to Mike Amaya of Michigan. Mike Amaya of Michigan, you have won an Apple Watch Series 9. Congratulations to our winners. Now, as always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap the webinar. So stay tuned, and don't forget there are still more chances to win that Amazon gift card. Plus, there is also the Apple Watches. And on top of it, as if that wasn't enough, there's the best question gift card from each session. And keep in mind that we're reviewing all the questions asked after we wrap. So even if we don't get to you live, you are still entered to win. Okay, my friends. Well, speaking of winners, let's move things right along to our next awesome presentation. And we are definitely keeping the good times rolling here on the Supercast, because up next we have another awesome team. And I saw already from the audience out there, I saw a few of you chiming in. We have a few Cloudian fans with us here today, so I know you are pumped up and ready. Today we will be chatting with Amit Rawiani, Director of Technology Alliances at Cloudian. Amit, thank you so much for being here with us today to talk about Supercloud. Now, I know you've got a ton of info lined up, and we want to leave some time for questions at the end. So I'm going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, wherever you are. My name is Amit Ravlani. I'm Senior Director of Technology Alliances and Solutions at Cloudian. And today I'm here to talk to you guys about the cloud of clouds, which is nothing but the hybrid cloud. So when everybody talks about the cloud, when somebody talks to you about, I want to move to the cloud, or our organization is going to be cloud first or cloud native, what do you think they're talking about? Well, most people will automatically assume that this is talking about the public clouds. We're talking about AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and they're right some of the times. How much times are they right? Well, that's about 30% of the time. Public cloud constitutes about 30% of all cloud-related activities. This is especially true about data and data storage. The remaining 70% of the cloud is what, at least at the data side, is what resides in the on-prem world. These are the edge locations, the private data centers, the colo facilities. And the reasons for this are multifold. And some of those reasons are pretty clear. So the public clouds are great when it comes to speed, agility, self-serviceness nature, and the consumption and operation model that they offer. People are really looking for the ease of use and also the speed and agility of how you can bring these things up. But when you talk about all of the cloud, you have to factor that your IT infrastructure is built over a generation of time, right? Multi-generation IT has to be taken into account. Data sovereignty, data residency is a huge factor, especially in a lot of the countries in the world that the hyperscalers are not native to or are not the country of host. And then there is security and compliance reasons for which data needs to stay on premises, and of course there's the latency and real-time decision making of the world. What this comes down to is that the world is truly hybrid, and therefore our cloud technology is and always will be hybrid. So that's what we're here to talk about today. That it is a hybrid world. And even from a cloud perspective, it is the hybrid cloud. That's cloud of clouds, right? So let's get a little bit into what our customers are telling us on how they are actually using a hybrid cloud setup, and what are some of the challenges that they face in the data management aspects of running their own cloud. These challenges range from capacity growth, which you've heard the 3 Bs of data, and it's all about how quickly this data is growing and how that actually creates a significant challenge in the data management aspect. There is the aspect of data sovereignty and addressing the privacy regulations, the sovereignty regulations of a country that has to be addressed. Ensuring data security is a huge concern, so that has to be addressed. And of course, the complexity that comes with working with the public cloud, creating your own private cloud, and working the hybrid environment, and the cost of moving to the cloud, right? Let's look at all of these things in detail, and let's also factor in what are the important aspects to understand to make this successful, right? So data growth. Clearly, data is growing 5 to 10 times faster today than it was even 2 years back, right? This is a huge challenge because the infrastructure becomes more complex to manage as capacity grows. The number of systems rise, more software layers are required. You may have things in the private cloud, you may have things in the public cloud. The result is increased infrastructure, increased management of different infrastructure assets that you have, and increased management cost. And even if you have the budget to get more cloud storage, to hire more staff, the need to get more skilled employees to manage all of these is extremely hard to find. Now, what are the solutions to address this? So from an industry perspective, what we've seen is simplification of data management is the key aspect, right? A modular system that can grow seamlessly in capacity without growing in complexity is the need of the hour, right? Being able to simplify and standardize your architecture designs across on-premises, public cloud is what's going to help you manage the data growth, right? Other aspect is the simplification of the management aspect. Being able to manage your data stored on premises in the public cloud, if you can do it in the same API set, the same protocol set, and across a single pane of glass, whether the data resides in the cloud, on-prem, colo, that's the key. Management should be simple and should stay simple as you grow your data infrastructure. That's actually the key to addressing the data growth aspect of it. on the data sovereignty aspect, right? Not all data is created equal, right? Some of the data just cannot go into the cloud. This could be because of privacy reasons. This could be because of compliance reasons. This could be because of the sovereignty reasons. In terms of some companies actually have decreased these days that you have to have the data residence, or you cannot put data into the public cloud. This problem, it has several causes, right? And paramount to the sovereignty clause is, something called the U.S. Cloud Act, which empowers U.S. government to subpoena information regarding data stored by any US-based cloud provider, regardless of where the data is located, right? Large-scale data migration to the cloud can be costly and time-consuming, but more important, it can, in some cases, be violating some of the sovereign laws. So that's why it is very important to keep data sovereignty into account, right? And private and hybrid cloud is one of the answers. That what you can do is you can put the data exactly where it needs to be in some of these solutions. Data residency can be ensured. It needs to be ensured to be in compliance with the sovereign laws. And compliance to country laws is paramount here. And your data and your cloud can be near the data source in such scenarios. That also has the added benefit of eliminating the cost and time that's required for data migration, and also the latency cost that comes into play. So data sovereignty is also a key piece to keep in mind when you're looking at your cloud pieces, right? And then let's talk about the cloud complexity and cost, right? Enabling a cloud-ready architecture is top priority. We address that. The modern workloads typically employ cloud APIs that are typically not compliant with traditional IT infrastructure. Consequently, applications and data portability across and among clouds and on-prem environments becomes a challenge, right? If you don't design for it correctly, it's going to be a challenge, right? So what do you going to do to make sure that the data formats that you're using work across different clouds, on premises, in the cloud, and that is standardization, right? The world is going hybrid, and at least from the data storage perspective, S3 is the language of the cloud, and this is basically where AWS created this whole S3 storage, and it's becoming the de facto standard of the cloud. S3 is an open set of APIs, and that is the language of cloud storage, right? And what you need to do is you need to be able to standardize your data formats with the S3 API across on-premises, on cloud, and that's how you're actually going to be able to reduce the complexity, whether you're using just single cloud resource, or you're doing a hybrid setup or a multi-cloud setup even, right? That's also going to help you minimize the cost, whether it's having to rewrite applications or being able to manage the applications at the location where it is deployed, right? And don't just take our word or our customers' word. Look at what analysts are saying as well, right? By 2025, 40% of all surveyed IT leaders plan to implement a hybrid strategy. This is up from 15% in 2021. This is the Gartner survey. And a similar Gartner survey says that by 2025, estimates show that over 95% of new digital workloads will be deployed in cloud-native formats, up from 30% in 2021. Now, de facto standard of the cloud for cloud storage is S3 APIs, and this will require S3 compatible storage, whether it is in the cloud or prem, and that's the need of the hour. So when you're looking at your data infrastructure for your cloud architecture, you need to think S3, right? And then finally, let's talk about the security piece of it, right? Ransomware concerns continue to be top of mind for most of the CIOs. Legacy storage is just not sufficient because many of these systems rely on perimeter defense only, and they do not have their own defense, right? A storage system that can actually protect your data, with data immutability, preventing hackers from encrypting or deleting the data as a last line of defense. That is one of your most important defense in your strategy. And that's what you need to make sure is applicable for your cloud systems as well. So these are the challenges that customers tell us that they're facing with deploying clouds on-prem, in the cloud, in the hybrid environment, and that's what we are seeing, and that's what some of the trends point to. And what are the drivers for actually creating this whole hybrid flow of cloud? Well, sovereignty and compliance is a huge one, right? There are GDPR, geo boundaries, compliance with sovereignty laws, residency laws, being able to keep your data that's required by law to be in a certain geography requires you to have, if not an on-prem system, at least a hybrid system that can ensure data sovereignty, right? Availability is another factor, right? We've all heard of cloud outages. This can impact SLAs. So having your own cloud under your own management, where you can ensure outages are according to what you need to be, or rather you can control the outages of your infrastructure is another piece. Data gravity is the third pillar for this, in the sense, if you have a hybrid setup, you're really having your data on premises by which you're actually moving the application to the data, even if the application resides in the public cloud, thereby, taking care of the data gravity aspect, which is, not having to move the data to the application and bring the lower lift onto where it's required is another piece. And then finally, cost, right? Public cloud may seem to be great way to start things off, but we've heard this and we've seen this, that the cost for cloud can grow exponentially. And this is really true in terms of data infrastructure for sure, because nobody today deletes data. If you start with, a footprint of 50 terabytes today, you can bet that your organization is going to double that, to triple that in the next year or so. And the metered aspect of the cloud data storage keeps going on. So the cost of going public cloud can be huge, and hybrid cloud setup can be a huge offset in that cost aspect as well, right? So those are some of the reasons why you would go hybrid cloud. Now, quickly, I'm going to introduce you to Cloudian and what we do. So Cloudian is the company that I work for, and we are a software-defined storage that's specifically meant to be a hybrid cloud storage. What we specialize is in an object storage platform that has military-grade security, limitless scalability, and seamless cloud integration. Cloudian lets you optimize your data access, meet your data sovereignty needs, and cut your cost by consolidating information to a single cloud-like platform, right? That's what Cloudian is, right? And going into some of the features, Cloudian is a truly cloud-native design, right? It is the industry's most compatible S3 APIs. Now, you remember what I talked about is being able to standardize on the de facto language of the cloud, which is the S3 API. Cloudian is the only enterprise system built from the ground up on S3, right? This includes every call, every error code. In fact, it is compatible to AWS S3. That's how easy it is to use Cloudian. With the full S3 compatibility, you know that the software you have written for AWS S3, this will work with Cloudian. Just as importantly, the software that's written on Cloudian will work with AWS S3. It works both ways, right? The architecture for Cloudian is service-ready architecture. It offers the most complete set of management features available in object storage. Now, where this comes from is, this is a system that was built for the service providers. They needed to offer things like multi-tenancy, billing, chargeback. All of these things are built from the ground up into Cloudian, including things like QoS, right? These are all standard features. So it's a completely service-ready architecture. You can build your own cloud services, whether it's for your internal organization, offer different department S3 services, or being able to offer services outside as a business, right? So we also, work with hundreds of MSP customers across the world that are offering S3 services with Cloudian. Lastly, Cloudian's global management tools gives you deep insights into your data networks. And, this makes management easy and scalable as your environment grows. If you prefer, Cloudian also offers, the fully managed offering of Cloudian. Even though the system will sit in your data center, we can take care of management and running your systems with our product called Hypercare, which is the remote managed services, right? 4 characteristics that make Cloudian the most important solution or most powerful solution today to address your hybrid cloud needs. Let's start with limitless scalability and modular architecture. Each Cloudian software instance is a node, and all Cloudian nodes work together to form a scalable cluster, and you can grow the cluster simply non-disruptively by adding one node at a time, right? Cloudian nodes can be deployed on any platform, whether it's containers, virtual machines, industry standard servers, or public cloud. It works across the place. It can be located anywhere. It is a geo-distributed system, and it can stitch together multiple sites that are cross-country into a single cluster that can be accessed from anywhere. And then, of course, we have hybrid cloud enabled. We are the hybrid cloud platform. We work very closely with the likes of AWS. We are part of their Outpost program. We work with GCP and Azure as well. We can do policy-based data management. We can tier data into the cloud, out of the cloud, and so on and so forth. And the whole architecture is container ready. And then security. We take our security very, very, very seriously, right? We have the industry's best implementation of data immutability with S3 object lock for ransomware protection. Data once in the object lock system with Cloudian cannot be deleted or changed. It is actual tamper-proof protection. We have the most security certifications of any object storage out there on premises today. And this ranges from common criteria FIPS, SEC 17A4, CFTC, and so on and so forth. It is a very, very secure system. And then from the multi-tenancy perspective, we talked a little bit about the service-ready architecture. We provide secure multi-tenancy, securely be able to share single environment across various tenants, unique namespace and management for each, quality of control, quality of service for each tenant, very, very secure rebuilt. And of course, being able to provide data at rest and data at in-flight encryption is inbuilt for deep security capability of Cloudian. The use cases that you can actually go range across the board, starting from backup. We work with a variety of backup vendors: Veeam, Rubrik, Veritas, Commvault. Everything supports S3. On the analytics side, we're a core component of the data lake house construct on premises, hybrid cloud, whether it's with Vertica, Snowflake, SQL Server, Cribble, Remio. The list goes on in terms of the application vendors that are starting to realize and support more S3 on premises. And then from a DevOps perspective, we work with Kubernetes based distributions, whether it's OpenShift, Tanzu, AI. We are the storage tier for a bunch of AI related applications. Healthcare is clear. It's regulated for most respects, the kind of data that you would store in healthcare. And we work with a bunch of health related applications. And then on the media side, we have some of the biggest customers in the media space and video surveillance as well, right? All of this can reside in a hybrid environment on Cloudian, whether it's running on premises, on flash-based devices, or on capacity-intensive hard disk-based devices, or being moved in and out of the public cloud for disaster recovery, or for from a perspective of creating storage tiers. Everything is available to you seamlessly. Right? You touched on this deployment option. We are a software-defined storage with the flexibility of taking a software license and deploying it and running it on bare metal servers, or in a container, or in VM, or in the cloud. Right? All you need is an x86-based server with minimum configuration, and you can get up and running with Cloudian. We so prefer Cloudian has their own appliances which are pre-configured, whether it's a high-density hard disk-based appliance, or it's a flash-based, high-performance storage appliance. You have it all from Cloudian, right? In summary, what you have is, a cloud-native data management platform that gives you hybrid data storage at your fingertip, scalability to grow from the edge, to go from edge to core and around the globe with distributed architecture, and the security and integrated features that gives you things like ransomware protection and high data security for all of your application in a manner that you can keep your data resident and sovereign. So with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation on the Cloud of Clouds, hybrid cloud data management with Cloudian. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Amit. That was such a great presentation, and we have a lot of questions coming in that I want to get to right away. I'm going to very quickly remind you all to click on that wish list we have up on the screen. What additional information do you want to get about the Cloudian solution? I'm going to not say anything else about it, Amit, because we've got so many questions to get into. You ready to dive in?
Yep, I'm here and looking forward to it.
All right, perfect. Well, I want to start with this one here because we got a couple of questions about exfiltration, and I think that's top of mind for a lot of folks. So does Cloudian help prevent against data exfiltration? Backups can't prevent data loss, but in many cases, data exfiltration is just or more damaging. What do you have for those folks, Amit?
Right. Most of the backup ways of preventing ransomware is, with Cloudian as well. You have the worm technology where you can lock up the data with object lock, and then, you can read the data, but you cannot modify it. So that prevents the ransomware, but the hackers can still read the data, exfiltrate the data, make a copy, post it online and what have you. And that's as dangerous. But with Cloudian, we are one of the most secure on-premises platform there is, and we have the most security certifications. We basically have a gamut of features starting from data encryption at rest, data encryption in motion, putting in role-based access controls, which are government certified and what have you. These kind of features enable customers to create systems which are highly secure and will not allow some of these exfiltration activities to take place. I mean, it does come down to implementation at the end of the day, but we do provide all the tools and tricks to be able to do that. Okay, I hope that answers the question. It's such a much deeper question, so I'd love to have a deeper discussion from the person who asked it, and they can always reach out through the info button at cloudian.com for more.
That's fantastic. And I'm going to remind everyone to take advantage of that. And we will also make sure that all these questions get over to your team, Amit, so you guys have a chance to follow up, because I know it is hard to answer these questions quickly. I'm going to throw one more challenge at you. I'm just going to sneak in one last question that I think is also a big answer, but we'll go as briefly as we can. Aren't hyperscalers building out superclouds?
They kind of are, and the reason why I say that is that's exactly how I started my presentations. Superclouds really are, clouds that reside in the public cloud that reside on-prem, bring them all together. And if you look at the hyperscalers, look at what AWS is doing. Hybrid was a bad word at AWS, and right now they're in the thick of hybrid cloud deployments with their Outpost technology. And guess what? AWS has partnered with Cloudian for their on-prem storage needs when it comes to Outpost related storage needs, whether it's Outpost or in fact even the local zone. So there's a lot of things happening in the hybrid space. And similarly, Azure has their Azure Stack, Google has Anthos. Everybody's creating this whole super cloud, which is going to not just be in the public cloud, but it's going to reside in your cloud, to your on-prem, to the edge. And a lot of these cloud companies are calling it the cloud continuum. So that to me is the super cloud, and that's what's being built as we speak. And that's what our customers should know and should be looking very, very keenly into.
Awesome. Well, I wish we could keep going with this because there's a lot of questions that we're not getting to. If you've got some time to hang out on live chat, we can get some answers back. And then, like I said, we'll make sure that we get all of these questions over to your team. Before you leave us, though, what do you recommend as that first step to getting started with Cloudian for someone who's ready to jump in?
Well, we have the free trial for Cloudian that's available on our website. Go for it. Please reach out, try it out, get your hands dirty with Cloudian, and you will see it is pretty much what you get in the public cloud with AWS S3. You can get it in your data centers and pretty much create your own cloud continuum, starting from your data centers all the way into the cloud.
Perfect. Well, I want to tell you, you've got a lot of high fives from the audience and a lot of fans out there. So thank you very much for being here with us today, Amit. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And to all of you out there who are clicking on that poll, clicking on that wish list, keep those answers coming in. I also want to remind you to head on over to the handouts tab, click on the Cloudian link. Be sure that you've got that open and saved for after we wrap, because you're going to be able to register for a free trial. That's obviously just the best way to make sure that you get in and start exploring a solution right away. Make sure that it's going to fit. Bill said that at the start, right, in the keynote, that not every solution is a one shop fits all kind of stop for every organization. So you need to make sure that it's going to be a good fit. So these trials, these demos, these are great places to start. So be sure that you have that tab open and saved for later. But I'm going to do a quick prize giveaway, and then we are going to keep things rolling because we've got lots more in the wings for you. So we next up have a $300 Amazon gift card and another Apple Watch Series 9. And these are going to go to 2 lucky winners here live and present with us at the MegaCast. So our next $300 Amazon gift card is going to Ethel Howell of Kentucky. Ethel Howell of Kentucky. And our next Apple Watch Series 9 going to Ryan Fleur of Pennsylvania. Ryan Fleur of Pennsylvania, congratulations. Now, as always, we will be in touch with you both about claiming your prizes after we wrap. And stay tuned. There's more chances to win, plus that best question gift card from each session. Remember, we're reviewing all the questions asked after we wrap up. So there's still a chance to win, even if we don't get to you live in a session. All right, well, we are going to keep things cruising along because, my friends, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Okay, you ready? The bad news is this is our very last session in the Super MegaCast, in the Supercast. But here is the good news. We have the perfect way planned to end this Supercloud Supercast. I am so excited to introduce you all to our very last speaker of the day, and that is Timothy Sherbak, Enterprise Products and Solutions at Quantum. Timothy, you are our grand finale. Thank you so much for being here with us to close out this absolutely fascinating conversation that we've had here today. I can't wait to hear more from you and what's up at Quantum. So I'm going to hand things off over to you. Take it away.
Great. Thank you. Yes, my name is Tim Sherbak. I work for Quantum. Quantum Corporation is a large enterprise organization that has a variety of data storage solutions and data management solutions across a variety of industries and solution spaces. Today, I'm going to, in particular, talk about our secondary storage products. I'd like to advance to the next slide. Let me see if I'm able to do that.
Let me know if not, I can, but there should be a little previous next button for you down at the bottom right-hand corner.
I do not.
I'll just click it forward, and then if it comes for you later, you let me know. Just give me a little next when you're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about our secondary storage solutions, particularly for hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. And what's really exciting and really the topic for today is Supercloud. I think the concept of Supercloud is really, in some ways, a game changer as we evolve our IT infrastructures as a function of a cloud-centric perspective. And it's kind of interesting that as we move forward in time, that whereas previously we were in this kind of era of a cloud-first kind of strategy and execution model, and today we're in an environment where there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more solutions in the space, both from an on-prem and cloud-based solutions space, where there's much greater flexibility than there has been in the past. And I think the interesting thing as Supercloud matures and we have a focus on greater transparency across both, edge solutions, your on-prem data center-based solutions and cloud-based solutions, it's going to provide some great capability as we move forward to think about how you can leverage some of these new solutions that are coming. Next slide, please. So one of the things I would encourage people to think about a little bit is their motivations to build their own storage cloud. What we're kind of in a scenario today is that data growth, of course, continues to outpace storage budgets. And one of the other things for folks to think of is that most data is cold or at best warm, and it's inactive data that is accessed infrequently. And so where there is hot data that really is that production workload type of data, which effectively has to be in the cloud or has to be in the processing center where you're doing your analysis, there's a lot more flexibility in how you think about your data management strategy for this warm and cold data, particularly as we think in terms of edge, core, and cloud. There's scenarios where this is a very fertile environment where you can innovate within your own on-prem data center in a way to actually reduce your costs and provide greater flexibility as you consider multi-cloud environments. So next slide. So when we think about kind of these massive data stores that are being required as our data growth grows and lots of data needs to be preserved, a couple of interesting things that are happening, right, is that, of course, a lot of the data is coming from data sources, and so that's going to force us into our requirements for scalability, performance, and low cost as key considerations. What we're finding is many people are looking to keep data for longer and longer, particularly as they think about using data for new applications and workflows such as artificial intelligence. And so there's greater and greater requirement for having data for years to decades. Data security, of course, is always an important element in terms of your data. And then there's this concept of durability in making sure that your data is available for the long term and even extends it beyond any specific generation of technology that the data is being placed on. One of the things that's important, and this is kind of Supercloud is definitely a reflection of this, is that in-house IT environments need to evolve and are evolving to a more cloud-like experience. And so when you're thinking about resources that you're setting up internally, you really need to think of it in terms of an as-a-service infrastructure for your constituencies, and how can you mimic a cloud-like experience and take all of those attributes of cloud and apply them in your own IT environment. And then lastly, especially when we think about these the large data growth that is occurring, the cloud economics kind of become untenable, and especially when we're trying to move data around or use data that the cost of storage within any one cloud can get very expensive. And so there's this push toward hybrid and private data clouds or storage clouds. And that's one of the topics I want to talk to you about today. Next slide, please. So the first thing I would say with Supercloud is that it requires a data management strategy, right? And when we're thinking about data being distributed across multiple clouds, edge devices, core infrastructure, there's a scenario where there's a certain element of data gravity that forces data to be close to the processing center in which those workflows are being processed and analyzed. But there's also this opportunity to think more grand in a more grand fashion in terms of your data management strategy, to think like a hyperscaler and think in terms of a strategy to build your own private storage cloud, or effectively a hybrid storage cloud that can serve your multi-cloud and supercloud strategy. And the benefits of this is that you reduce transaction fees and storage fees and egress fees that are natural to cloud infrastructures today. You also get to benefit from the drop in hardware costs over time that are not as aggressive as they were in the early years of cloud infrastructure, in being able to benefit from lower and lower costs over time in cloud infrastructures. And then the other key benefit, of course, is your own cloud can actually be cheaper than the public cloud, both in terms of the storage costs, but specifically with respect to transaction fees, storage fees, and egress fees that make public cloud storage a very unpredictable resource and turns into surprises on a monthly basis in terms of what your cloud bill is going to be for storage. So one of the things to think about is, these key aspects of cloud storage that you've grown used to, and how do you achieve these within your own environment. And so, of course, REST interfaces are very important for simple access. Storage efficiency is really important in being able to leverage multi-tiers of storage at different costs and performance profiles, and provide for very low overhead. There's durability and availability characteristics that you potentially want to preserve. And, one of the key great things about cloud storage is this kind of scale out mentality where you can increase performance and maintain simplicity at scale as you add resources into your infrastructure. Another interesting thing that's going on is that you can act as your own as a service provider, or local resellers also have many managed services. Quantum has managed services capabilities as well that allow you to build your own cloud and yet have managed services built into that offering from a third party that makes it simpler for you to manage. And the last thing I'll say that's very important is to be adaptable over time, right? And make it and think in terms of technologies that are going to allow you easy evolution by having a software abstraction layer that allows you to migrate forward in terms of the capabilities of the resources, the hardware resources under that software layer, that's going to allow you to be adaptable over time. Next slide, please. So with Quantum, we have our solution is Quantum ActiveScale, and this is a very scalable object storage solution. What's very unique and interesting about the solution is not only is data based on hard disk drives and NVMe solid state drives, but we also support very low cost solutions by virtue of being able to integrate tape-based solutions into the environment as well. And that provides us with the ability to have both S3 and S3 Glacier in one system. And this can provide for a very remarkably low cost of the entire infrastructure by virtue of using lower cost media through this software interface layer that makes it very easy to manage, but also very inexpensive to build your own cloud. And so with Quantum ActiveScale, this is kind of a key technology that we'll go into a little bit more detail that really provides for low cost of storage, best-in-class performance, and best-in-class price performance, and provides you for much greater predictability in terms of the storage resources that you're deploying on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. Next slide, please. So I won't go through in infinite detail on the ActiveScale object storage system, but the thing to recognize about it is, number one, it's a scale-out architecture, and so that means that we can add resources into the mix, and the system will automatically grow to include those resources. And data is distributed across the whole infrastructure, and so by distributing that data in very unique ways based on erasure coding, we're able to get a very highly available system, a very storage efficient system, and a very high performance system, all within this infrastructure. And this is true even as the system scales into larger and larger scenarios. In contrast to other object stores that have kind of a static data layout, they have challenges when they want to upgrade the system in the field to add additional resources or expand over time. And this can cause real challenges because of the rebalancing of data and resources that's required in this production system that can be very disruptive to the customer environment when you're doing that. In contrast, ActiveScale is really targeted at providing performance at scale with no rebalancing, and really provide a very dynamic resource for organizations as they grow over time. Next slide. And the other thing, of course, when you're building a system, for deployment and use by all of your constituents in your organization, is that you want to be very focused on durability, security, and reliance. And so that's one of the key. These are key attributes of the ActiveScale object storage system as well. And so it's built so to withstand multi-component failures. You can deploy this in a single site, but you can also deploy it across multiple sites, and that provides for lower cost and overhead than a replicated system, and it protects you from multi-site failures as well. And so this is a really good solution in order to reduce the overall risk to your data and the access to your data by deploying it across multiple sites. In addition, there's a variety of security features in the system for end-to-end encryption, versioning, and object locking, characteristics that you're familiar with if you've used cloud storage in the past. And it also provides a best of both worlds in terms of we do support replication between ActiveScale systems and replication to a cloud target. And so there's opportunities to both preserve your data on-prem and then even replicate it to the cloud as a resource and data copy of last resort, for example. Next slide, please. One of the key and most interesting features of the ActiveScale cold storage system is, as I suggested, the S3 Glacier class. And this is where we are able to provide for S3 Glacier class storage as an integrated element of the ActiveScale system. And this can provide up to 80% cost savings by virtue of the lower cost economics of tape media. And the beauty is that this is the solution provides for a totally software-defined object on tape management. And so just like in your cloud deployments today, when you're using cloud storage and cold storage and cloud environments, there is a software abstraction layer where you don't even realize that tape resources are being used on the back end as the vehicle to store your data at very low cost. In addition, with ActiveScale cold storage, we have a very parallel architecture based on the quantum rail system. And this is RAIL stands for Redundant Array of Independent Libraries, and just the same kind of concept of RAID technology that distributes in a parallel architecture for hard disks. The RAIL system provides for a parallel architecture for tape systems, and so provides for a very effective, high performance, highly available infrastructure for building large scale data stores at very low cost. And one of the key elements of our solution is what we call two-dimensional erasure coding that guarantees the availability of your data, the performance of the whole infrastructure, the durability of your data over time, and very good storage efficiency by storing both data and parity in very clever ways in order to have a very efficient use of storage as compared to multi-copy type of scenarios that you would otherwise use. Next slide, please. So here's just one example of a federal government agency. They have created a private storage cloud for the entire agency that is built as a document archive and the target for long-term retention of backup data. And this uses a quantum ActiveScale with cold storage, with a cold storage tier as well. And so this provides for a fully integrated solution that includes about 800 terabytes on disk and about 12 petabytes on tape. And the way they've built this is as a dual redundant solution across two sites, in which they have each site backing up or replicating the other site. And so they have a very highly available, disaster tolerant solution, but that comes in at very, very interesting low cost by virtue of the mix of both disk and tape within the system. Next slide. So when you think about Supercloud, the opportunity really is for you to kind of recover control of your data within your own storage cloud, and then have this as a centralized resource for all of the cloud infrastructure that you have within your environment, and the multiple clouds that you use. And this is really amenable to 90% or more of your data, in the context that there's always going to be the case where there's a production workload that is going to need very fast access to the data within the computing infrastructure for that. And so you will likely have a scenario where data needs to be very close and resonant with those workloads. And so that's something to consider. But for the 90% solution, a centralized storage cloud can be very, very effective in these multi-cloud and supercloud environments. Next slide, please. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit because there's another technology that Quantum is a pioneer and an industry leader on, and that's in terms of backup appliances. And if you're familiar with backup appliances, kind of their key attribute is that they can provide for really great storage efficiency by deduplicating the data that is being backed up to the appliance. And so we have a rich architecture for our DXi backup appliances that provide for built-in ransomware protection and efficiency. It's an all-inclusive software feature set, so we don't charge you for every different feature. It's a full-featured, capable system as delivered to you. It's got an edge core cloud architecture, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because this makes it very amenable to a supercloud type environment. And another key element is that it really provides for 3211 solutions. This is a backup. This is a backup and data protection best practice and strategy that is used across the industry. If you're familiar with your own backup solutions, you may use this strategy in-house, but it really defines an architecture and key considerations when you're trying to protect your data across multiple sites and across multiple environments. And finally, Quantum DXI backup appliances have a rich solutions ecosystem and a variety of different backup software solutions that are available, compatible with that solution. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about 3211. I want to bring it up just so to make sure everybody's familiar with it. It's this idea that to protect data most effectively, it's really important to preserve 3 copies of data on 2 different media, with 1 copy offsite and 1 copy either immutable or offline. And so DXI is really a key capability for us at Quantum in being able to build these 3211 solutions because DXI backup appliances are able to tier to active scale object storage as well as to the public cloud. And it does this in a very cost-efficient way because this deduplication technology reduces the storage footprint not only of the local copies, but also of the cloud-based copies. And it reduces the networking bandwidth in order to interact and distribute data across the infrastructure by virtue of these deduplicating features of the solution. Next slide, please. So one of the things we've been actively talking about with customers most recently is this concept of using DXI appliances for edge core cloud solutions. And this is really focused on secure, efficiency, enterprise protection across the whole environment. DXI appliances are available as virtual appliances that can be deployed in a variety of cloud and hypervisor-based environments. And so across the whole edge, you're able to deploy very cost-effectively DXI V5000 appliances that will back up data locally and then replicate it back to a core DXI appliance in your core data center. And in addition, we have a new capability called DXI Cloud Share that allows you to tier data from your DXI appliance and migrate that data off of the DXI appliance into a long-term low-cost tier of storage, either in a public or a private cloud. And so we provide for a very efficient solution from edge to core to cloud. Next slide, please. So one of the things that this is going to provide is to be able to build a data fabric, a data protection fabric in a Supercloud and hybrid cloud and multi-cloud type environment by being able to deploy DXI virtual appliances in different cloud environments allows you to back up the data locally in that cloud environment and then also to replicate it back to a central location. And then, of course, you can tier backups to archive for long-term retention of your backups into a centrally managed storage cloud. And of course, we advocate the idea that ActiveScale is a good solution there, particularly again because it has multiple tiers of storage, and so it makes for a very simple exercise to be able to back up and retain copies of your data at the lowest cost possible, even when you want to retain and keep a copy of your data and keep a copy of your backups from 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, etc. And so this can be a very good solution where you can have a fully integrated fabric of appliances that provide for very good cost efficiency on a local basis and cost efficiency in terms of how it replicates and how it stores those replicas and those archived copies, because it's managing that using its advanced deduplication technology to reduce the total amount of storage that's traversing across the network and reducing the amount of data that is actually stored at each of these endpoints. Next slide. So in summary, I'm just giving you a couple different ideas of how to think of storage differently in a multi-cloud and a supercloud environment, where you can take more ownership and more focus in terms of data management and data storage strategies that can provide for lower cost and greater control, right? One is to build your own storage cloud, and active scale object storage is a great solution there because it has multiple tiers and can provide for very low cost. And then there's also this concept of building your own data protection fabric that's built upon virtual appliances and integrated replication and tiering that provides for you to have an integrated whole that for data protection that reduces your overall bandwidth and storage costs across this distributed environment. So with that, I want to thank you for your participation. There's additional information I think you have access to already in the download that's available. And of course, you can always go to quantum.com for even greater information. Thank you.
Awesome. Timothy, thank you so much. What a great presentation. Lots of good information. And I know the audience was really getting into it. You got a lot of high fives as we went through that. Lots of people excited to see this kind of in action. So I think hopefully we'll get some demos and trials. And I do want to encourage all of you to click on that handouts tab that Timothy just mentioned and make sure that you have that tech brief. While you're doing that, also keep clicking on the wish list up on your screen. What additional information would you like to get about the quantum solution? So this is a great way to make sure that you're getting the info you want. I saw some ask for case studies. I saw some folks looking to kind of dig in and explore some demos. So this is a way that you can make sure that you're signing up for the information that's going to be most helpful for you. So click on that wish list, click on that handout. Timothy, I know we're a little over time, so I want to keep this brief and get you on your way. I apologize for keeping you late, but you have some time for some audience questions? Timothy, you still with us?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I think we lost you just a little bit.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I gotcha now. Gotcha. Always, you got to have a couple of tech gremlins or it's not a live show, right?
Yes, of course.
All right. Well, let's get in this question here. So for businesses considering a smaller scale point of entry, what is the minimum amount of cold storage that's able to be supported by active scale?
So active scale generally can be deployed as small as about 400 terabytes usable from a hardware perspective, but the software bytes, the lowest common is about terabytes, and then you scale up from there. It's very interesting. What many customers will do is first deploy a small disk-based object store, and then of course as their data ages, then they can get a lot of great capability by adding the cold storage tier into the solution. And you can start doing that at very at these small 400 terabyte type solutions to start adding a cold storage solution, starting for example at a petabyte at a time. And then, the value and your costs will naturally go down as more and more data ages out into that cold storage tier. And customers often will find that they maintain a relatively small active tier based on disk drives. And then over time, it's their tape-based tier that will grow most as they increase more and more data being stored.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Timothy, I know we're pretty close to the end of time here. I'm going to sneak in this question because I always appreciate it when it comes up. And Larry is wondering if you could give us a little bit of insight into what you think makes quantum unique and kind of stand out as a differentiator.
Oh, sure. So, and I think I mentioned this a little bit in the presentation, but one of the things that really makes quantum special is in terms of the breadth of our portfolio and the depth of our technology in those solution spaces. And so, for example, with the DXI products that I talked about, we have industry-leading deduplication and data reduction techniques that are integrated across that whole fabric of appliances that we can deploy. And with ActiveScale, it's really our ability to build small and then scale big as an organization's requirements grow. And that's by virtue of both the core architecture of the ActiveScale in the robustness of building larger and larger configurations over time, and also by virtue of the integrated cold storage tier that provides for the ability to minimize costs of the total solutions in customer environments.
Awesome. Okay. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of our time here, but I do want to check because we got a few asks for how folks could really explore ActiveScale themselves. Is it possible to get a demo?
Absolutely. If you reach out to Quantum, go to our website, quantum.com/contact us. You will find an easy opportunity to reach out to us and get a demo. There's also for DXI solutions, there is a DXI virtual machine that you can actually download. It's called our Community Edition. And if you just simply go to Google and search Try DXI, you will find a page that is part of quantum.com that is just dedicated for you to just be able to download that virtual machine and try it for yourself.
That is a great next step. And, I usually like to wrap with sort of what does someone do to get started? Would you recommend those demos as step one, or where would you send people if they're ready to jump in and start learning more about quantum?
Sure. Of course, our website is a great resource for everyone to go into great detail. There's a variety of ActiveScale demos and short videos in our video gallery that really go into a lot of different depth and on different aspects of ActiveScale. And then secondly, as I say, if you're really motivated by the DXI appliance, then there's just a very simple deployment model that with our Community Edition that allows you to set up a DXI appliance in your own environment to try it. And we're always available. We have a wide set of resellers that are part of the Quantum family and ecosystem, and so we can meet you where you are and help you dig deeper into this technology. So just reach out and contact us.
Perfect. All right. Well, lots of ways to get started. And Timothy, as I said, some great high fives and excited fans out there in the audience today. We are, I'd say, can you hang out on live chat? But since we're about to wrap it up, what we'll do is make sure that all the questions that didn't get answered get sent on over to your team so you're able to follow up with them. And Timothy, thank you so much again for being here with us today. This has been a ton of fun.
You bet. Thank you very much.
And to everyone out there who asked a question or clicked on that wish list there, thank you to all of you. It is awesome to see all of these cool, like I said, the high fives, they really bring up the energy. And I love seeing how excited you guys are about Supercloud. This is a new idea. It's a new concept and it is exciting. But as always, when we're learning about something new, there's a little bit of, nerves and figuring out whether it's the right solution for you, whether it is something worth digging into. And it's really fun when we can have these opportunities to share our experiences and share our thoughts and share some of this information. So thank you to all of you for being so engaged and participatory today. And on that note, make sure you're clicking on that wish list. Make sure you've clicked on that hand handout. Make sure that you've got all the information that you need to follow up on all the conversations we had today. You think you're going to remember it all, but you're just not. You're going to lose some of it. So the tech brief from Quantum Active Scale Object Storage, you can easily store, manage, and extract value from exabytes of unstructured data. This is a really cool handout. It's a great way to follow up on everything we just heard from Timothy. All right, well, while you're doing all of that, I'm going to go ahead and give away our very last prizes of the day. And then, as always, I will read out our entire prize winner list, so that way you can hear all the awesome winners from the day and send all of them a round of applause. Now, again, you do need to be here live and present at the MegaCast in order to win our last two winners of a $300 Amazon gift card and an Apple Watch Series 9. The gift card going to Raj Tuliani of Maryland. Raj Tuliani of Maryland, you've won a $300 Amazon gift card, and the Apple Watch Series 9 going to Brian Foster of California. Brian Foster of California, congrats on your brand new watch. All right, I'll read the full winners list. Gift card going to Scott Bell of Missouri, a $300 Amazon gift card going to Ethel Howell of Kentucky, and our final $300 Amazon gift card going to Raj Tuliani of Maryland. And our 3 Apple Watch Series 9s going to Mike Amaya of Michigan, Ryan Fleur of Pennsylvania, and Brian Foster of California. Congratulations to all our lucky winners. And as I said, we will follow up with you after we wrap. Now, stay tuned for that best question gift card from each session as well. We will be reviewing all the questions after we wrap, and we'll follow up with our winners, so you will hear back from us. All right, my friends. Well, here we are at the end of our day today, and it has been a super one, if I may say so myself, a supercast for the Supercloud. Now, if you are sitting on this awesome supercast today and thinking that this seems like a good time, it is, and we would love to chat with you a little bit more. So if you have a solution that you think would benefit this community, we've talked a lot about sharing that information together, and this is a great way to get involved and bring solutions, bring ideas to the folks in your community. So if you would like to present on an EcoCast, a summit, a MegaCast, a webinar, whatever you've got in mind, we would love to hear from you. So reach out, shoot us an email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. Okay, my friends. Well, with that, we are going to say a very special thank you on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team to our incredible speakers here with us today from Rubrik, from Cloudian, and from Quantum, and for making this MegaCast possible. But as always, and I always say this and I always mean it, but the biggest thank you of the day has to go to all of you out there for taking time out of your day and coming and asking questions, getting involved, clicking on those polls. I really had a ton of fun with all of you today talking about our superhero of the day, the Supercloud, and what it can mean for your organization. There are these new tools, new ideas coming out every day, but they are only as good. They are only as valuable and effective as we actually take the time to explore them, to understand them. I'm going to bring it back to what Bill said at the top of our day here together today. Not every solution is a fit for every company. So something can be really cool to know about and not right for you. Or there could be things you haven't quite explored that are perfect and that will solve all of these problems that you've collected that you maybe didn't even know there were solutions for. And that's why we get together and have these kinds of conversations where we're sharing, where we're pooling, and where we're all benefiting from those community experiences together. So this has been a really fun conversation. It is genuinely exciting to be a part of this with you. I hope that you are all walking away, maybe feeling a little more informed. Maybe you're ready to tackle some challenges or changes that you've been dreaming about as we head into 2024. But best of all, and as always, I hope that you had a lot of fun here with us today, because I know that I had a ton of fun here with all of you. And I do see some thank yous, some great days coming in from all of you, and I love that. I'm so glad that we were able to share that with you today. I do want to remind you all to come back for an EcoCast tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed week. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about ransomware, preventing phishing and spear phishing attacks. I love this topic. I find phishing is such an interesting thing, not just because we get to use 101 cool acronyms like phishing and smishing and vishing, but also because it is something that affects us as humans, as well as employees, as well as organizations. It spans this whole breadth of psychology and strategy and technology and the human element of always bringing it back to to the human element. So this is going to be a really cool conversation. Be sure you've got that on your calendar. Again, that's Wednesday, November 8th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, ransomware, preventing phishing and spear phishing attacks. Well, my friends, I hope that I will see you all tomorrow. I hope that you'll join us for that EcoCast. And either way, I hope I get to see you again soon. And until I do, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.